Hey gang, it's Tuesday, January 17th, 2017, and it is a beautiful day in Georgia, and I just want to show you a couple things. I've made progress on the 68 Mustang. I'm sure some of you have seen the videos on it, and I did do my cam break-in, so the next step is for me to get to some exhaust on it. So at this point I'm just kind of let it sit for just a little bit, and I had somebody contact me on getting some work done on some 1951 Ford F1 fenders. Primarily some rust issues. We've got that area on the front of the fender, and then this on the rear of both fenders. And he's going to supply me with some patch panels for this area. I'm not going to do any repair to that just yet. There is another patch needed on this extension or filler piece, whatever you want to call it. Also the back of this fender, and there's been some cutout work done on this fender, and so I have to address that. Now normally, depending on location, you may just cut something out and make a filler and put in a patch, and he's a little concerned, as he should be, that there's some rust behind this brace. So what I plan to do is remove the brace, and I know there's a couple spot welds right here and here. There's probably one or two in here, and then one or two in here, or three or four, whatever. But I'm going to remove that brace and clean up everything behind this, and then I will fabricate a doubler and fill that in, and then of course I'll put the brace back in. So that's the plan. I also I can see there's some issues right here. There's a big crease where this thing was probably pushed back, and I know that there are dents in this fender in a variety of places, and I'll probably dolly out some of those. Sorry about the lighting. Dolly out some of those as I can and try to make it look better. Same way here on this other one on the passenger side. Got some dents in there. So a nice little project, and I'm going to get started on it. Alright, the first thing I'm going to do when I start this process is I flattened out this crease that I showed, and the result is there's a crack right here. And the reason I did that first was I wanted to make sure that the shape is established, and so what I'll do is I'll weld that in, make this solid and blend it down, and that way I know that the fender's not going to change shape as far as this point. Everything from there is actually behind the brace. The brace starts right here, sorry, right about there. And also, if you can see, I had taken my sanding disc on my 90 grinder, and I just skimmed over the top of this to get the paint loose and show where the spot welds are. And so the next step will be to take a drill bit. If I had a spot face bit, which I don't, but basically I'll use a drill bit and drill away just the part of the fender. Try not to drill into the brace itself, and weaken that so I can separate and get the brace out of the way. That should take care of that. Now I'll blend that down with my sanding disc and then move on to tackling those spot welds. Well, you might see here that I've already done these first two, and I don't know if you can see it in the video, but you can, as I drill down, I'm watching for a break, let's say in the middle of the drill pattern. In other words, I can see there's a ring. I don't know if you can see that or not, but that ring tells me that I've gotten into the second part. And it won't focus. There it goes. But I've gotten into the second part, which would be the brace. So I'm just using, I mean, what size bit it is. This is well, looks like 17/64. Not that that should matter, but that's all I'm doing is just drilling in. Rotating the drill, checking. And there I can see the ring where I'm breaking into the next part. Again, I don't want to drill all the way through the support brace. If you do, it's no big deal, because when you come back you can fill it in with weld. So I'm going to get the rest of these out of the way. Alright, so I have all the, what I hope is all the spot welds drilled, and I'm going to use just an old piece of scrap that I have. I don't know where this came from. I've been using it for years. It's just a thin piece of metal, and I sharpen the edge of it, and I'm going to come in between the brace and the fender lip. I'm basically just going to tap it in there. You can probably see, maybe, there's separation already. And so I'll continue to do that and work it loose until all these welds pop loose. And then there might be one or two that I missed, I don't know. So this, I'm just taking my time. There, the whole front edge is loose there. You can see the edge of that one's holding on. That was a little bit deeper. There, it's separated. But I think you get the idea. I'll continue to do that until I get them all loose. That one's holding on right there as well. So now you can see I got the first part of it loose, and I'll work my way to the back and get these other ones out of the way. Alright, now that I have the brace out, you can see it did have rust behind it, which is expected. And the same way with on the back side of the fender. There's rust up in there. So I will clean all that up, and then I need to reshape this just slightly. I can see where it's a little bit out of shape right here, but everything else is good and solid. And basically I'm going to fabricate a patch that's going to fit in here. I said earlier a doubler. I didn't mean that. I meant a filler or patch. And so I'll just kind of make a template out of cardboard. I may even clean this up a little bit. Looks like they cut this maybe with a plasma cutter or something. So I'll do some work to that to square it up and get a better shape. And like I said, make a template and then fabricate a filler. Alright, so I've cleaned things up, and I had to make the hole slightly bigger. The edge that was available had some more pinholes in it, and it was also had some really thin areas that I didn't want to work with. So at this point I made a cardboard template of what my filler is going to look like. So all I do is trace that and cut it out, obviously. And then I wanted to verify. I measured the thickness of this material here. The original fender is about 40 thousandths. Now let me show you what I've come up with. This is a filler panel from one of the 65 Mustang projects, and the material thickness is the same. It's also 40 thousandths. You can see that or not. So that's going to work just fine. And what I've done is I've traced it out, or traced out my template, and now I'm going to use something that's called an air nibbler. This is a pretty handy little tool. I don't remember where I got it from or how long I've had it, but actually I forgot that I even had the thing. I found it the other day when I was trying to do a different repair. So, earmuffs, safety glasses, and some gloves. And I'll show you how this works. This nibbler, if you can see or not, has a little mouth opening right there. And basically there's a piston, goes up and down, and it takes out a little, like a half moon shape of metal every time it cycles. So I'm going to start back here. And I'm not going to cut it to the exact shape. I want to be able to blend it down as needed. So I'm going to cut outside my lines. Alright, I'm not going to bore you with all that. You can see how it works. So I'm going to finish cutting that out and then move on to the next part. So there's the rough cutout. And you can see my line, and of course, you know, I want to be able to fit this closer to the cutout that I have in the fender. But another thing I'm going to do is take my throatless shear. These are sold. You can see it's got the handle goes all the way up there. They sell these at Harbor Freight. I don't know the price. I can look it up. But one of the handiest tools you ever have, and it's just like a big shear, a big pair of scissors. So I'm going to stay outside of my line here and just take the shear and trim off just a little bit more of that metal, because I could sit there with a sanding disc all day and try to get the shape where I want it, but why? I mean, if you're going to do this stuff fairly often, this is a very handy tool to have. It's making short work of this. I can't remember exactly how thick I've cut with it, but you can see it's easily going through this 40 thousandths. And I'll just trim up these corners just a little bit. But I think you get the idea, and you can see the value of having something like this, especially if you're doing a lot of sheet metal work, patches and whatnot. The hard part is you really can't, you can cut inside here, and the problem is it'll want to twist your metal because it has to go somewhere. When you start cutting here, the main body is going to want to distort, and so I'll probably avoid cutting an inside curve. I may cut some of this. I'll have to decide on that, and I could go the other way, feed it this way, but again, this side is going to want to deform, let's say. So I want to try to keep the shape that I have and then work it into the shape that I need for the filler. Alright, so I've trimmed down the patch, got it to where I like it. I did have to roll these edges just a little bit up here in the corner where that original metal would have wrapped around. And now what I'll do is I'll fit it in place. And also I took the reinforcement brace and I clamped it back in place exactly where it was, and that way it keeps the shape of the fender where it's supposed to be, and it'll support everything while I'm welding in the filler piece. So basically at this point I will work in, get some clamps and clamp this in various locations, and then I will work around the perimeter. I'm not clamping to that brace, I'm clamping sheet metal to sheet metal. I'm just doing a flush. The sheet metal is going to be flush, the doubler or the filler and the fender, the rest of it there. So basically that's what I'll do is I'll get everything in place, set up the welder, and start tacking. I'm just going to get a few tacks in place. Make sure it's flush. Whoop. Better turn the welder on. Anyway, you get the idea. I will bounce around and just keep going until I get everything filled in. The nice part about having some tack welds in place is if you need to manipulate the edge a little bit, you can. And what I had was a little bit of the patch piece was rolled in just a little bit. So after I got a couple tacks, I was able to tap it out. And all I did was take a screwdriver from the back side and just basically tap on that edge and get it to flush out so it meets with the original panel. Same way here, there's a little bit of a difference, not much, but I can come in behind it, tap it out just a little bit, and adjust from there and try to get that as smooth as possible so I don't have to add any kind of filler, or much filler later I should say. You will always have to add filler. Yeah, that feels better. But you can see what I'm doing. I'm just trying to take my time. Want everything to line up, fit right. Okay, I'll keep working on this and see how much I can get done. Now hopefully you can see that as I did my tacks, I started stacking them up and continuing around the perimeter. I've got all this edge welded, and I'm working my way around, and you see light coming through. That's fine. What I plan to do now is take my sanding disc and smooth all these down as best I can, get a look at it, and then go back and finish filling in little gaps. So as you can see, I did blend everything down. I can still see where the old welds were, and I started tacking in again right next to the old ones. And I'll just continue to do that and go around and fill in these gaps. And I don't stay in one spot. And I'll continue to do that and fill in these gaps. The nice part about it is, if I wanted to, I can take a flashlight, put it on the other side, and see where there's any more pinholes or gaps remaining. Well, I think I'm done with it. Compared to what I had to start with, I think it looks pretty good. And here you can see the inside and the weld penetration. So, like I said, I'm pretty happy with that. And now, what I'll do is I'll blend down these welds on the inside a little bit. And I also intend to, I'll probably end up blasting the reinforcement brace and cleaning it up. And then on these surfaces that'll be welded back to the inside of the fender, I'll put weld through primer. And here, I don't know what I'll do yet, whether I'll use an epoxy or something, but all this will get treated before it gets put back together. And that piece fits in there very nice now. So, let me get that taken care of. Alright, so, as I said before, I would treat the inside of the fender, and I did. I actually blended down some of the welds, and then I used some rust reformer on top of all of the rusted areas after I cleaned it up. And I also had blasted the inner brace, sprayed the inside of it, and also put zinc weld through primer as seen here. And now what I'll do is I'll put the two together, and it fits really nice. Very happy with it. I'll install some clamps, and then I'll weld this back in place. Alright, everything's in place. I made sure all of my holes lined up exactly where they were and everything fit nice and tight. So now I'm going to do some welding. So basically, that's the process. That's for putting it back together. And I'll just go over all of these spot welds, come back and blend those down, put some more treatment on it, paint, and also on the inside I will spray the backside of the bracket and everything. Try to make sure some paint gets in between, and really that should take care of the repair on this front section. So I'll do another video where I'd repair the back section, but I think that'll take care of this one. Thought I would show you the final product. And again, I'm not doing the filler work on this. I'm just doing the sheet metal repair. So as you can see, some of the paint's still wet, but I did spray everything, ground down the welds, and sprayed more paint on the inside. I had the fender turned over so that it would actually kind of run up behind it, and I'm pretty happy with the results. So at this point, that'll be the end of this video, but I'll show you what I'm coming up with for the next one, and that will be the repair of the lower rear of the same fender. And I'm provided with a patch panel by the owner. Here you can see the information. It's a nice heavy duty piece. It looks like it's galvanized, maybe. Yeah, pretty sure it's all galvanized. So I'll have to bare the metal where I'm going to weld it. You don't want to breathe that stuff. But that'll be the next video, and stay tuned. Once again, thanks for watching.